What's going on, everyone? This is the Osmo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. We have a quick four-gamer to talk about today. We'll probably talk about some just general short slate strategy and things like that. Nolan joins me today, per usual. Nolan did his line change article. How are we looking for news today, Nolan?
Yeah, there's a fair bit for a four-game slate. Some definite stuff, and like a lot of places you can go tonight to differentiate your lineups with some late breaking news. I think that's going to come in during line rushes. Nolan Patrick, Braden Shen being listed on the DL still on DraftKings, may lower his ownership. So there's a few places you can go tonight to kind of get some leverage on this field if you're going for some more popular stacks.
Sure. Yeah, that's always good, especially on a short slate. Like, the one or the two spots or, few spots that you need to look at for line rushes. So should pay off in the long run if you're around your computer or phone and ready to swap. This is kind of where we get part of our edge, I think, because hockey's so correlation-based. So should be good for that. We'll be in premium Slack at 7 Eastern or whatever. I'll be around, for line rushes for the first couple games, and if I see anything throughout the night, I'll be sure to pop it in for you guys so you can make those changes. Anything for ownership? Do you see a spot that's going to be crazy high owned here?
I think Toronto 1 will be number 1, and I'm kind of the opinion that Toronto 2 will be number 2 on the slate.
Yeah, I think
top owned lines.
I think I agree. Maybe Washington, one of those Washington lines, maybe the top line sneaks up there. Yep. But it's really hard to argue with the value on Toronto here with the huge implied total going into Vancouver. Not a team you're really worried about.
Such a smash spot for the Leafs. And they're just sort of coming. I feel like they've been generating chances for the past month at the best rate in the entire NHL, and only up until recently the pucks haven't been going in, and now they're starting to go in. And they demolished the Flames the other night on the road. They get a far easier matchup tonight. I just think they're going to go ham, so it's going to be really hard to get off the Leafs tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be tough. If you're doing one lineup, I'd have a tough time probably leaving them off. For MME, I am definitely going to be heavy on one of the lines. I'm not fading either one of them. I don't think you need to do that.
I think we all know which line that's going to be. It's whichever line Zach Hyman's on, right?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the catalyst. You gotta play all the Zach Hyman.
Switch it up last minute.
Yeah. If he's skating with Matthews, we're all in. But yeah, I think there's some pretty good spots. There's one spot that I really love as a pivot to Toronto if you want to get a little bit more ballsy, and I actually don't know how ballsy it is, but referring to St. Louis 1, I didn't really write up the Leafs because I figured that that's a pretty obvious spot that everyone was going to be on. So I didn't really feel the need to write them up in the free article. But St. Louis 1 is the one that's kind of popping off to me. They just such good numbers. We saw even in bad spots, like these lines with really awesome numbers that get a lot of ice time and full power play correlation. Carolina won last night, going up against Bergeron, and they got there. Not saying it's going to work out every time, but this is a much softer spot than going into Boston to face Bergeron for St. Louis 1. And I think St. Louis 1 is a better line than Carolina 1, and I don't think they're going to be as owned as they should be, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's probably a really smart play. We were talking before the show. My only reservation, I wonder what their ownership will be. My reservation was that the perception over the course of the year is that you target teams going up against Anaheim because Anaheim has been so bad. And ever since the Carlisle firing, Anaheim has actually been top 10 in the NHL in scoring chances against and high danger chances against. So they've been actually much better defensively. And then you couple that in with the Gibson return at home. There's some reason to like the other side of this game too as a contrarian play.
No, I mean, that makes sense. And so I think maybe some people will catch on to that, but I just don't think people see it as the slam dunk spot that they see Toronto.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
I'm not worried about really St. Louis 1 being more owned than either of the top two Toronto lines. So, and I think they're really close, and I actually have St. Louis 1 projected as my top overall raw point line which I think might be somewhat of a hot take, but we'll go through it, and you guys maybe will kind of see why.
These St. Louis one numbers are just insane.
Yeah, they're just outrageous. Like 80 shot attempts per 60 or somewhere 75, 80. Like that's just an absurd rate.
19 high danger chances in 150 minutes.
You just don't really see that outside of a couple lines. And
Nashville won, and like that's it.
St. Louis, by the way, just like complete 180 from the start of the season. Like super disappointing. And then all of a sudden, they fired Yo, and now they've just taken off. Like look like one of the best teams in the NHL. So
they like their numbers were bad under Yo, but then it took a while under Berube for them to get going. Is Berube, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So it took a while for them to get going, but we saw like in the numbers that they were improving. You know, like there was like about a 2-week period where they weren't winning games and scoring a lot, and we're like, Jesus, these numbers are crazy. So, you know, sometimes it's that's like my favorite example this year of just the underlying numbers sort of telling the story.
Oh yeah.
Before, and you could kind of get on it when they were cheap and not owned.
Looks like Matt took advantage of that, sitting on a 60-1 ticket for St. Louis to win the Western Conference. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a pretty good ticket. You might be able to sell that off.
I feel like
if they win a
West
series.
is wide open. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cash.
I mean, there's still Nashville and Winnipeg. I mean, there's a lot of good teams, but you know those teams could beat up on each other, and then all of a sudden you're looking at one series for 60-1, and you could of course hedge that if you're into that type of thing. So, pretty good looking ticket right there if they can win a playoff series or two for you, there, Matt. Do you do any futures? Like, do you bet a lot of futures?
Oh yeah. Love golf futures actually.
Okay, yeah, I see that on
actually,
Twitter.
Yeah, I do like. So what I'd love to do if you're ever betting is wait until free agency day, and like a lot of the bet sites just don't care about hockey because it's such small potatoes. Sure. So wait until like the Tavares signing or the Carlson trade, you can get those numbers before they've adjusted. So like I think I have some Leafs at 15-1 or something, and some Sharks at a similar number before they signed Tavares and Carlson. Yeah. So I mean they're not looking great now because let's face it, Tampa's winning this thing. But if you're a bettor, like around the draft and around July 1st is the time you want to make those future bets.
Yeah. Wow, that's I didn't even think about that, but yeah, those are probably some edges I should exploit. I mean, it's always tough to win those long shot ones, but yeah, it's nice to have a couple of those. Matt, 90-1 to win the Metro division for Carolina.
That's insane.
Wow. 90?
That's a Corsi fan's dream right there.
Yeah, geez. Looks like Mike had some issues with hand building 150. How do you hand build? How do you have time for that?
That's insane. I have struggled with 20.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Put a crunch in early, or hand build a bunch and just have a 150 of an actual real lineup just in case that kind of thing happens. So if you do run into some issues, you can always default back to at least one lineup that's competitive and just run a big train, or do 25 of 6 different lineups type of thing. So
I learned that the hard way the other night when Cruncher broke down on me with a half hour before and deleted all my lineups. So another thing to do if you're doing a big slate is just make sure your placeholder lineup is a bunch of teams with late start times so that you have a little bit of flexibility if something goes wrong. Yeah.
You need a projection source for reference to hand build that many. Otherwise, it's too confusing. Yeah, I would never try to hand build that. That's crazy. Is there even a minimax tonight? You guys are talking about the minimax. Is there?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked.
Let's see.
I just was going in this $5 one.
I'm gonna try. Well, I'm playing the $5, but I'll put them in the minimax, I guess, if there is one. I didn't see one.
Doubt it.
Didn't really look that hard, to be honest. Just made sure I got my 5 in. Hopefully, that thing fills so we see more of it. And it looks like
there's no minimax. 20. No, nothing.
Okay. All good. There's always late slate stuff if you guys like 2 gamers or showdowns. Those are pretty good. Yeah, okay, not tonight. I just have 20 entries today. 20, you could probably cover a lot, or get some pretty decent stands. 20, I think tonight. 4 games. Do you want to start going through them?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we've got the Caps and the Flyers. This is a late slate start, half an hour later than usual, 7:30 Eastern. Should know the lines by about 7 Eastern in this one. 3.4 implied total for the Caps, 3.2 for the Flyers. Holtby and Elliott in net. I understand we've got some possible line switches with Philadelphia here.
Yeah, so I've seen like someone, I can't remember who was it, Jason in chat posted, oh, coming for that dough posted something from NHL.com, but I would take all of the Flyers lines with a grain of salt tonight just because we don't know what's going on with Nolan Patrick. He skated optionally today and he's still recovering from concussion. But he might go, he might not. I don't really. I think that's like a true 50-50. Maybe I'm wrong there, but if he goes, then all of those lines are going to be screwed up, I'm guessing. So make sure that you're paying attention on Philly's side of things if you're rostering those players today. Like that's a must.
Yep. Yeah. So I really like Philly here. That'll be shocking to no one. I love targeting the Caps. I mean, I like targeting the Flyers too, especially as of late. Chris in chat mentions that Voracek's out. Yeah, I think Nolan mentioned that. Or, you can't see Voracek on the screen. He's not playing tonight.
Yeah.
So for me, the question is kind of who's playing with Couturier here. I mean, I hope it's Giroux. I think that, he's a better player than Van Riemsdyk, obviously. But both guys are on power play 1. So if you get Van Riemsdyk at $1,700 cheaper, that's a pretty good price for him as well. And pretty good price for that whole line. So I just want to see who's playing on Couturier's line. That's going to be the only one I really want to target heavily. They're going to go up against Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, and Wilson, and I don't think that's a bad matchup. I mean, who knows if they'll limit them. I think they will have a pretty decent chance to limit them at 5-on-5, but the Caps top line does give up their fair share of opportunities, as does the second line, but I think this is more a Philly 1 night and a Washington 2 night for me. What do you see here?
Yeah, I think so. I think like I'm going to try and get some of this Philly leverage. If the lines are screwed up, then I'm going to switch off and try and get some Philly in there with my Toronto stacks because I think that'll give you some leverage on the field. Just having some of those Philly. I mean, we've been targeting Washington for a while. Couturier is going to go up against Ovechkin, so that's I'm assuming that's what you said. Yeah.
Yep.
So we know that line's been terrible this year, so that's a great spot. Philly 3 is maybe a little bit interesting as a filler stack, and then on the other side of things, just notice that Washington 3 has been really good in their 20-minute sample this year. That's Hagelin, Connolly, and Eller. They're priced up a little bit, so they might not get much ownership. Decent 22% 5-on-5 share last game. They're probably deployed more in a defensive role, but I like them as a filler stack tonight as well at low ownership.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the call, especially if they have good numbers. All the Caps lines, the top 3 really have good numbers, just pretty poor on the defensive side for their top 6 the whole season. So, if there's Patrick with, Konechny and Van Riemsdyk, that would be a secondary line I'd have interest with. It's just hard to tell because we don't know if Patrick's going to play. We don't know what the lines are going to look like. So, this is going to be a night where you're probably not going to want to make a ton of lineups before 7 Eastern, or just kind of ignore the Flyers here, which I really wouldn't want to do. So this one's it's gonna come down to the wire as far as who we're actually playing. But I know I want Philadelphia exposure, and I know I want Washington too here quite a bit. What do you like for the defenseman here?
Yeah, I guess Carlson's pretty good play. I'm sort of indifferent to him and Giordano tonight. I know your projections are loving Giordano as always, but it's a pretty tough spot for him. So if you're paying up, I got no problem going to Carlson. Sanheim's been tearing it up. Gustus Bear's on the top power play unit, so I don't really have a problem. I don't really have any strong takes on any of them. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I like Carlson. I think Giordano for me is probably the guy I'm going to a little bit more. I think Carlson's going to be owned. I mean, I'll probably be over on Carlson though, just because I really like paying up for D lately. And I'm going to be doing that here. Another guy I also like is Orlov for 3,100. And then on the Flyer side, there's a handful of guys. I mean, you've got Gostisbehere on the top power play, so he makes sense from a correlation standpoint. Provorov is another one I like to use at 4,300, plays big minutes, and then Sanheim as well. So I'm just kind of mixing and matching here with the 3 power play defensemen for Philadelphia. There's not one I'm really taking a big stand on. But yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of Carlson for me tonight as well, and then a little bit of Orlov too.
I like it. Yeah, Orlov's still cheap, so
Yeah.
pretty solid play in that price range.
Kempney up to 4,500. What is that?
He's been like really expensive this whole year though. Like I think of him as like a $3,000 defenseman on DK, but I don't know.
I mean,
That's probably just my own bias.
yeah, I don't know. It's not like he just hammers the puck every time he gets it. It's not like he's playing 28 minutes a game or anything either.
No, the price doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so yeah, Provorov, Sanheim, power play stack. That's certainly a way to differentiate. I did not have any Fiala last night, Steven. But
the Fiala, we targeted the wrong revenge game.
Yeah, we targeted Granlund. Is Gould out, by the way? Matt says.
I don't think we're going to know. They played last night, so they didn't skate this morning. I would assume he's out because he didn't return.
Right.
But you never know. And so, like, we'll get to that. But if Jacob, I think, what's the name of this guy? Jacob Larson probably take his spot if he's out.
Yeah. Fiala goat. Fiala looked really good last night.
Did he?
Yeah. I mean, he's really talented, like you can tell. So hopefully the Wild let him go a little bit and kind of are okay with a few defensive mishaps here because he's.
I mean, there was like a 2-year period where he's the number one prospect outside the NHL, right?
Oh, he's sick. He's like 22 or 23. He's younger than me. Yeah. So fast. All right, you ready to move it on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. You got any goalies here? Or are you passing?
I have Elliott. Like, he's going to be a guy I'm overweight on just because I think it's a winnable game for the Flyers. The 3.4 implied total does worry me a little bit, but I think Couturier is going to be able to limit Ovechkin. So, like, my total isn't. Go ahead.
That's a nice pivot. Like, no one's going to own him. He's going to be like under 5%.
Yeah, it's Elliott's always a tough one to click on, but that's why an optimizer is a little easier. Like, I can just play 10 or 15% of him and be okay.
It's tough when you have like that nuts lineup and you're like, all right, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to take this goalie. Just as like a low-owned flyer to kind of get some differentiation, and then you just shit the bed, and you're just like, why did I make that one stupid decision?
I'm correlating a lot too, so I'm expecting to have a decent amount of flyers. So, just a bunch of reasons, confounding variables to me getting to Brian Elliott. Thought no Bachelor, the women tell all. I kind of turned it off. It was pretty annoying last night, Steven, so I'm right there with it. All right. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. 3.7 implied total for the Leafs, 2.9 for the Canucks. Frederik Andersen and Jacob Markstrom in net. Changes here?
Fourth line for Toronto. It looks like Freddie Gauthier out, and Nick Petan is going to start, which is interesting. We know Tyler Ennis had a pretty big game, won someone a bunch of money last time. I think did he have a hat trick?
Yeah,
2 goals. And that's kind of interesting because Petan hasn't done much in the NHL, but he was like one of the better offensive prospects out there for a while. Maybe like the label was a little bit soft. I think he was led the WHL in scoring for a while. So, I don't know how they'll deploy that fourth line with him on it now. It's interesting because like he's not a defensive player, whereas Gauthier is like known as a defensive player. So, we'll see how that goes. Like, I mean, maybe Toronto 4 is like. If Ennis wasn't coming off that hat trick, I would say that there's going to be no ownership on them. But now he's probably a sucker play because of recency bias. And then Vancouver side, as well. Hull is in for the Leafs. Justin Hull. Yeah, and Oguzhanov is that his name? Oguzhanov is out. So it's third pairing, not a big deal. And then Canucks side, we got like whole new lines. Again, looks like Goldobin up with Horvat and Pearson. Take that one with a grain of salt because Goldobin gets benched roughly every single time he plays. Levo is back on the Pedersen-Besser line. And then Gaudette returns with Granlund and Roussel.
Yeah.
Also, Ben Hutton out, so Ashton Sontner is gonna step in. So should mean big minutes for Edler and Biega here.
Edler and Biega, yeah. Have those two been paired together lately?
Yeah.
Have we seen that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since Edler came back.
Okay, got it. So it's been a couple games. All right, so Biega for sure in play. I'm sure some people would be happy about that. The guy just
I think that's kind of a sneaky play tonight.
Yeah. I mean, trying to shut down whoever they go up against, that's going to be the question, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to deploy Edler Biega with Horvat, or since they're so balanced up top, the Leafs are, like, if they're going to go Horvat against Tavares, or Horvat against Matthews, and then have the Edler pairing go up against the other line type of thing. So should be interesting. I mean, they also have this third line. They like to use Granlund in sort of a shutdown role with Roussel. So I'm not sure. Do you have a read on line matching here?
I was actually just going to look it up, because one thing that might be interesting, like I'd say I'm probably less worried about line matching and more interesting about which D pair goes up against the second line, right? Because like Edler Biega is actually like a serviceable defense partnership. Pouliot and Stetcher, Sonner and Shen, those guys could get absolutely destroyed, right? Pouliot's been a little bit better since Goodbranson got traded, but they're like small, puck moving, so I don't know what to make of that, but the depth on the Canucks defense is so bad here that I would rather play. If I thought that one Toronto line was going to get more of Edler Biega, I might be more inclined to take the other one, but I don't know. I don't know if we can assess that or not.
Yeah, it's tough to guess here.
Yeah.
I'm
and
not
also,
sure.
we don't have any recent data on like the Canucks at home, I think.
Yeah, with Edler especially.
With Edler back, so yeah. Kind of a tough one.
Yeah, it's probably it's a bit of a tough read.
It's probably both at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
so
maybe they just don't hard match. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, my favorite play here is pretty obviously the Pettersson line, Pettersson with Besser and Lebo. I'm not sure where we're getting the power play 2 there. I don't know if they practiced this morning, and they ran power play stuff, and he wasn't on the unit with Adler and Pettersson. Not sure why that would ever be, or if it's just daily face-off guessing.
Levo wasn't. I think Brendan
Besser
tweeted all this out, so I can find out.
Besser wasn't.
Besser wasn't on that. Oh yeah, they've been doing that lately.
Okay.
That last game as well, he wasn't on the top power play unit.
Seems pretty dumb. We'll see.
But they don't do a lot of smart things in Canuck land, so
no, except trade Goodbranson. So
yeah, they shouldn't have. Yeah, now who they trade Goodbranson for? The guy in the Penguins top line right now. It's frustrating.
So yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I like the Pettersson line. I think they're perfectly fine. They usually don't grade out as well for me as they do for a lot of other people, and it's not like a super easy matchup unless they're getting hard matched against the Matthews line. They're just the best line, I think, on Vancouver with Besser and Pettersson together, so it's kind of an easy default to them. I'm not really ignoring the Horvat line here though either. Like, Horvat by himself grades out really, really well for me. Hopefully he goes up against Matthews for his sake, and I don't think people will play the full stack there. So I like the top 6 on both sides. Going to be heaviest though on the Pettersson line, and then probably the Tavares line for the Leafs here.
Yeah, I agree. Probably fading maybe a little bit, fading Toronto 3. I don't know. I'm going to have some stacks in there, 1-3, 2-3, 1-2 power play stacks. Just the blowout potential here is pretty high, so higher than normal. I mean, I don't know how popular that move's going to be, so it's kind of tough to say. But yeah, just like having watched the Canucks, I think it's maybe it's personal bias, but they just do not look good right now. They've lost, I don't know, a ton of games in a row. They generated like 17 shots against Vegas the other night. Like they're just not a good team.
Yeah, they're really not.
But I think like it's definitely, if you're gonna go heavy on Toronto, bring it back with a couple Markstrom, Pettersson, Besser teams, because stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, you can for sure game stack. Like I say, I never really force it in, but if it happens and you're not correlating your goalie and you allow it to happen, that's perfectly fine here. I think there could be a lot of goals on both sides. Man, like Vancouver's done a little bit better of a job not taking penalties. So that's kind of the one thing pointing to me going a little bit underweight on one of the Toronto lines. It will probably be the Matthews line here. But yeah, it's really hard not to like a lot of things here. So I don't really have any super strong takes on anything. I'm kind of just going to spread out the exposure. But again, mostly Pettersson here on the Vancouver side and mostly Tavares on the Maple Leaf side. What about defensemen here?
Yeah, getting to a lot of Riley, so that's going to be play. I like Muzzin at that price. I like Edler a lot. We've documented the Toronto Maple Leafs penchant of giving up points to defensemen. Edler's probably going to be on the ice for 25 to 30 minutes with Hutton out, so I guess he's going to block a lot of shots. I think that's a pretty safe play, especially in cash. And then Marincin, do you like? He always comes up in your
Marincin or whatever. Yeah, I mean,
it's Martin Marincin. Yeah,
he's fine. Yeah, I don't know. He's not a guy, like, he's just a guy that it's a small sample thing and it's a per 60 thing. So he comes up a little bit, but I'd rather, like, if he's your last guy in, that's perfectly fine. He's almost min salary, but he's not like a guy I'm just hammering like a must play at 2,600 or anything like that. So a lot of these guys that are cheap on my projections will come out as decent values. But I'm never like, unless it's a Keith Yandel situation, trying to just like jam him in or anything like that. So I like Stetcher along with Edler as well, actually. And of course Biega. We both like Biega more as a one-off guy. And that's really about it here.
Yeah.
What about goalies?
Stetcher. Goalies, Anderson. Maybe the way to get off the Toronto chalk is just to not take Anderson, not correlate with your Toronto lineups. I don't know. I mean, they're the favorites. The only thing against him is that Vancouver hasn't been generating a ton of shots lately. So,
yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with the Leafs chalk here. It seems pretty tough to avoid just because of how cheap they are. Like, even if you're not getting to them as primary stacks, you can still fit either of the Vegas lines with either of the Toronto lines. So it's tough to avoid when you're playing 150 lineups, I think. And even, even single entry or 3 max too.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to move it on?
Yeah. You getting any like Toronto 3 or 4 at all, or?
No. I mean, Toronto 3 a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I'll get to Nylander at that price. And Marlowe both are on the second power play. But not 4. I don't think I'm including fourth lines here tonight.
That's fair. I think, especially with the recency bias.
Yeah, if Ennis beats me again, then you guys can have my money.
We're getting to a fourth line that you're going to love soon, starring former Canuck Ryan Kessler. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess they don't really deploy that as the fourth line. But, yeah. All right, we're getting to it right now, actually. Blues and Ducks, 3 implied total for the Blues, 2.3 for the Ducks. Jordan Binnington against likely John Gibson. Ryan Miller went last night. A little bit of a surprise there. Bringing out the big guns against St. Louis. Do we have any changes here?
Yes. So Braden Shen is back for the Blues. Sorry, he's back up on the top line with Tarasenko and O'Reilly. They have a kind of new look third line with Oscar Sundqvist, Alex Steen, and Jaden Schwartz, which is probably more of a second line, I'd say, but maybe not. And then Maroon, Bozak, and Thomas are making up that second line. So some new combos for the Blues. And then on the Duck side, Gouli is out tonight, or probably out, game time decision. He was on the power play 1 last game or 2 games ago. So intriguing spot to swap if you're like, you have the Nuts lineup and you each have one cheap defenseman left. Maybe you swap to him if he's in the game or something, just to get him at almost no ownership. And then I think everything's the same for the Ducks coming off that win against the Coyotes, but I could be wrong there. They got a few injuries kind of lingering that I don't think anyone's due back.
The Ducks do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting to a lot of the Ducks here, and it's not really because of the low total. It's just because how good St. Louis has been and how bad of a matchup they are. Even on the road, like the last couple months, they've just been so solid in every facet of the game, offensively, defensively, special teams. So man, like the only guy I was getting to a lot of was Brennan Gouli or Gould. Did we come up with the pronunciation for his name? Gouli. All right. He was really the only guy I was getting to a decent amount of just as a one-off, and he is attempting quite a bit of shots. So it was kind of frustrating to see that he was hurt last night. I did play a bunch of him last night as well, and was going to have a lot, but I don't really want to end up with like 15% of Jacob Larson. Like, who knows how many minutes he's going to play. You could just swap to Manson. That may be a thing that I'll do instead. Manson's minutes are pretty safe. But I don't know why they haven't ruled Gooley out yet. He didn't come back in the game yesterday. Like, wouldn't that mean that he should be out?
Yeah, I would think he's going to be out. Yeah. I don't know why they would rest it.
Yeah, I don't know. So maybe I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's probably not going to matter. I don't think Gooley's going to decide the slate for me. But I think St. Louis 1 could. So they're probably going to get matched up against the Getzlaf line. Like, Getzlaf and Perry have been okay defensively, but I'm just all over St. Louis 1. Like we mentioned, great numbers. Just awesome numbers with Shen or Schwartz there. It just doesn't matter. Top power play for all those guys with Pietrangelo. Ducks commit some of the most penalties in the NHL. Their kill is, I think, average. And then they're on a back-to-back as well. And St. Louis is just playing so good as a team. I don't even know if John Gibson's going to be able to slow down St. Louis here. Like, though I think they're not scoring goals lately. Actually,
they're like over their past 5. I feel like we're starting to see a bit of a downward trend with St. Louis.
Sure.
And I think the numbers do bear that out a little bit. So like over the past 2 weeks, they are, and that's like about a 5 or 6 game total. So it's a very small sample size. I haven't looked at what teams they played, but they're 18th in the league in scoring chances for, and somewhere around there in high danger chances for. So they're maybe coming back down to earth a little bit. I think that's probably normal given the like insane run they were on. So although like the numbers really do support St. Louis here, I can also see the other side of this game. Just we see like two teams kind of trending in opposite directions. Not to say that they will ever meet in the middle, but that Anaheim's been better and St. Louis has been a little bit worse as a team. So I'm gonna go. I mean, I find it really hard. You're the expert. You're the better DFS player. So I think anyone listening to this should go with your projections 100% of the time. But it's something to consider for sure. Just that these teams are. I think St. Louis has been a little not as good as they were for that 2-month stretch.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely have come down to earth a little bit. I mean, they're not getting the great results that they saw for a little while there. I just think this top line is so good. Like, I just can't look away from those numbers and there's just no way I don't end up with a ton of St. Louis 1 here. So,
fair.
Maybe the Ducks have been a little bit better, and it's still, I don't think is going to matter. Like, St. Louis 1's going to be able to generate at will here, I think. So, give me them at lower ownership over Toronto 1, over Toronto 2, and that's going to be kind of my big stand here. So they're going to be my highest exposure stack.
I like it.
And then Pietrangelo going to be up there for me as well at 5,600, and possibly Gooley. I don't know. I'm just kind of mixing in a few stacks of both the Getzlaf and probably more of the Steele, Raquel, Silverberg trio.
Yeah. Both those lines are pretty reasonably priced, and they pair well with Gibson, who is really cheap on this slate, so allows you to spend up elsewhere. I don't mind either of those lines.
Yeah. Any other guys you want to mention, or any other deep stacks you like?
I mean, I'm kind of half joking about Anaheim 4. They're getting a lot of ice time right now, and I think they're playing a little bit better. But maybe one lineup with them. It's
one
the problem is
out of how many?
I don't know.
How many making?
30, 40.
All right.
Maybe 0. Probably 0.
All right. And then I'm kind of staying away from Gibson tonight.
Are you?
He's just always more popular than he should be, I think.
Yeah.
Just based on how bad his team is. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe people will be off of him because of St. Louis, their recent success or whatever. But keep an eye on Gooley tonight at 3K. He's a guy, if for some reason he's in, I would want to play quite a bit of, and he's going to be like 2 or 3% owned if he actually ends up playing.
Just going to throw the 951 save percentage against Colorado and Vegas at you in his last 2 for Gibson.
Gibson? He's so good. So he can do that for a couple games straight.
7,100, so cheap.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? He's always cheap, but
I'm all in on Gibson.
All in? Jeez.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, when he better have like a 95.
Gibson, let's go.
Yeah, he better have a 95% high danger save percentage then, because
actually I think he does. No.
If St. Louis 1's going to generate 20 chances, then there you go. He could stop 19 of them.
Right?
All right. We've got last game of the night, 2.8 implied total for the Flames, 3.5 for the Golden Knights. David Rittich in net against Marc-Andre Fleury. Any changes here?
Yeah, lots of changes for the Flames. Frolik is down on Calgary 4. Kachuk is up with the top line again. They experimented with that last week. So Lindholm moves down to the second line. And then Andrew Mangiapane, who's was an offensive force in junior, was kind of a late round pick that fell in the draft and will get a shot on the second line tonight. So they might, I don't know how they'll deploy that with Backlund in the middle. It doesn't seem like their usual shutdown kind of style. And then I saw Daily Faceoff has Rasmus Anderson back up on Giordano's pairing, which I couldn't find confirmation on. So I'm assuming that's right. And then on the Vegas side of things, Schmidt and Miller both got a lot of power play time last game. Both quarterbacking at the same time. Vegas has used like one defenseman predominantly, like most teams. So now both of them are on the power play. I'd expect that to stay the same. And I think the forward lines are all the same as well.
All right. Yeah. So that was the big thing I saw is the Kachuk thing, Kachuk and Lindholm swapping, and then this other guy, min salary guy, on the Backlund line. Yeah, I guess where to start? Like, I want to like this game quite a bit. I do like the Stastny line a little bit, but it's always tough with Vegas because they don't hard match. So you have a tough time like getting a great read on who's going to see who. I just think the price is okay for both these top two lines. Top lines come up a little bit in price. Second lines come up a little bit in price, but still not to a point where they're out of play for me by any means. So no hard matching just means I'm spreading it around a little bit with a lean to the Stastny line here. And then if I'm going to Calgary, I think I'm a little worried about this guy staying on the second line, the Backlund line, for the whole game. So yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's going to stick. So I'm more on Calgary 1 if I'm going to Calgary. But it's really tough going into Vegas. Like, we've seen it time and time again. Outside of Florida last week.
Yeah, it is really hard, right? You get the Vegas flu. Maybe Calgary's like letting some steam off after that Leafs loss.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So like I kind of like I like Vegas 1, Vegas 2. I think Vegas 3 has some really good numbers as well together. Let me just pull those up right now. But they were among the better lines on the slate in a small sample size.
Isn't Vegas trash at home? Someone says. Where are we seeing that? I mean, they're always favored heavily.
They haven't been converting on their chances recently, if that's your criticism. But they're still generating a lot. Yeah, so Eakin, Took, and Peary, 27 minutes together. So not much, but 44 scoring chances for, and 14 high danger chances for, 26 minutes. And they got a lot of ice time last game too.
Yeah, Vegas is awesome at home. Like, they're incredible at home. If you look at scoring chances and high danger chances for and against, really, like they just destroy people at home. So I don't even know what the record is, but I'm assuming it's not too shabby based on what I'm seeing. Like scoring chance 4%, high danger chance 4%. They're top 2 in both. Corsi 4%. They're top 6. They're really, really good at home. 2010 and 14. Wow. Yeah, so pretty good. Actually, not as good as I would have thought based on those numbers. 2-3-0 wins in a row. I mean, I don't know. Do you see a Florida explosion like what we saw last game? That kind of came out of nowhere for me, honestly.
It's weird. Like, Calgary's been much. I think their goaltending has been better lately, so they've been kind of having in more low-scoring games, and like their offense hasn't been producing the way that we were used to in the beginning of the season. So I feel like they're going through a bit of a downturn right now. I don't know like really what to do with them. The prices have come down a lot with it, so it's kind of tough to like. Kachuk at 5,400 is really cheap. That's insane. But then you're going up against two of the best lines, maybe 3 of the best lines in terms of possession and Corsi in the NHL. So it's going to be really, really hard for them to generate chances, I think, in this. So my inclination here is to fade Calgary.
Yeah. I mean, if it was a bigger slate, I would probably just cross Calgary off. But again, it's like the salary is just too soft that they project well enough for me that I'm taking some shots on Calgary 1 especially, not as much on 2 and 3. And I think you're right. There are 3 playable lines in Vegas here. That Eakin line probably going to see the most time against Calgary 3 and 4 compared to the top 2. So they're going to be virtually unowned. Like we've seen Peary go on this goal scoring streak. Eakin's actually been okay, and then Tuck I think is just a really good player. He's a top 6 player on basically any other team in the NHL, and probably a top line player on most teams.
Yeah.
So
and he's on the
second
power with Vegas 1, right?
Yes. Or no, Vegas. He's with Stastny, Pacioretty, Schmidt, and Colin Miller. Yeah. So technically the second unit, or we're seeing it as the second unit. They split them up, and Vegas hasn't been great on the power play anyways.
Yeah.
So
I like the Vegas side of this a little bit more than the Calgary side. We've been losing money on Vegas for months now, so why stop now? Rittich coming off a 6-goal trouncing to the Leafs. Vegas just generally do, I think. Calgary lost 2 in a row.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if Vegas is just going to open it up now. Like, that one game I can't really get out of my head how they let up 5 or 6 goals to Florida. So, kind of throwing that one away. And
maybe Malcolm Subban wasn't great. I didn't see that game, but probably little bit of a different team with Fleury in there too.
Sure, that makes sense. What do you like for defenseman here? Gio, you going to him?
I actually downgraded him in your projections. So he hasn't been the same defenseman over the last month or so. He's just not producing at the same rate, and it's a tough spot. So I'm gonna have some of him obviously, but probably not as much as you. And then I like Schmidt and Miller on the other side. Yeah,
Gio's awesome. So I'll play him even in bad matchups for the team. Low total type of thing. He's a floor play, and he's got the slate breaking upside as well. So
that's a good point. What are you going to get? 8% versus Morgan Riley, who's 24%. Something like that.
Even if it's close to 20, I'll take Gio. He's not. Morgan Riley's not 2.5 times more likelier to be a top 2 or 3 scoring defenseman than Giordano is.
Exactly.
So just basic math. Even if it's 16% and 8% for Gio, or 10 and 20, whatever it is, I think Gio is the better play in a vacuum. Now I'm playing both of them, but I will be way heavier on Gio here. If you guys don't like Calgary, you pretty much don't like Giordano. Then he doesn't shoot a ton. He shoots a ton. So maybe you're just thinking of someone else, but yeah, Gio attempts a ton of shots amongst the league's lead with guys like Burns up there. So Burns is kind of in a league of his own, but Giordano's definitely in that next tier of guys that shoot a ton and therefore give you more chances to score and more chances at multi-point games, and he can move the puck and on the top power play. There's a lot of good things going for him, even if you don't like Calgary 1 and you don't think they're going to have a 2 or 3 goal performance. That doesn't mean that Gio still can't have a goal or assist and then get you 3 or 4 extra points with peripheral stuff like block shots and shots on goal. So
yeah, good point. Probably gonna get 25 minutes.
Yeah. So if you want to downgrade him, that's fine.
I'm just gonna look up his stats with Anderson versus Brody real quick here.
Sure. On the other side, I never get to a ton of Vegas defensemen. Miller's kind of the guy that on a per 60 basis grades out okay for me, but I think I'm looking at Theodore here. I just like the way he's played lately. He's on the power play with Stone and Riley Smith and Carlson and Marchessault, so a little bit of a tiebreaker for me there. Maybe not as many minutes as Nate Schmidt, but I really like Theodore here. Seeing anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Rasmus Anderson with Mark Giordano. 14 high danger chances 4.
14.
And 33 scoring chances 4. TJ Brody and Giordano, 11 high danger chances 4 and 28 scoring chances 4.
So maybe
that's 900. That's 900 minutes versus 100 minutes though. So
100 minutes you're getting there. But yeah, that's
not huge. Blitz.
It's not a downgrade, so I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. What's your overall strategy here? We got a couple minutes before we kind
Yeah,
of log
it's
off.
interesting to see these like Vegas lines. Like I have a live Vegas total of 3.6, which is only point 0.2 off the Leafs total of 3.8. Considering the fact that Toronto is going to soak up so much ownership, the smart play might just be to go to Vegas tonight. Because I'm guessing like Vegas 2 is going to be really popular, but Vegas 1, people are probably just a little bit sick of it, sick of playing them and sick of not seeing the results. So
Sure.
that could be an interesting combo tonight. They're always cheap because they haven't produced, but they're still a really good line.
Yeah, they are. A lot of really good lines on this slate. We've had like these shorter slates. They've actually had a decent amount of options.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you should like most of your lineups that you make, even if you're making 150. Like I like the look of a lot of them, and my favorite ones are the St. Louis ones. So St. Louis one, kind of my big stand here, paying up for a lot of defensemen in addition to St. Louis one. So pricing soft enough that I'm just kind of playing what I think are the best plays. Worried about ownership a little bit on Toronto, but again, 2 lines there. So I don't know that one's going to get to like 25 or 30% or anything like that. Riddich is terrible, Ray Rock says in chat. What do you think
This
about
is
that?
true.
Is he
Yeah,
terrible?
I mean, I don't know if he's terrible, but certainly not elite.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he was supposed to be really good, right? I mean, people think he's better than Mike Smith, but honestly, that's not really saying much depending on which night you catch Mike Smith.
Yeah.
So this one could be over quick for me, this slate. Or I guess not quick, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if Toronto goes off in the first period, I'll be in trouble with all my St. Louis one that hasn't started, but we'll see.
You got any like low price defensemen that you're getting to at all?
Orlov, I mentioned, Stetcher a little bit, and
Pouliot?
let's see. Who's that?
Pouliot?
Pouliot. I don't usually get to him at 26.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, he doesn't do much. Like you're looking for an assist, and even if you do, like you're not ever worried if you fade a guy like that. So the guy I really
Rasmus
wants.
Anderson actually probably going to get 20
Sure.
minutes tonight, 2,800 on DK.
Yeah. I like that. Gooley, kind of my guy. So I just don't know if he's gonna play. Maybe I just swap a bunch to Manson or Rasmus Anderson. I could also make that swap. So there's potential if I just play Gooley and hopefully I remember to actually take him out of my lineups. But there are 2 games left, so not dead in the water. You can find another 3K defenseman. Thoughts on Blues D-men minus Pietrangelo? What do you think about Parayko and co?
And done. I never get to them, so I just never end up rostering them. Maybe to my detriment. But
Parayko doesn't shoot enough for me. Like he in past years was shooting just a ton, and now he's kind of not been as aggressive this entire year. So
Parayko's the kind of guy that like could score you a goal, probably isn't going to correlate very well. Gets a pretty decent amount of minutes, so he's kind of like that guy you throw into your lineup at like 2% ownership that maybe differentiates you. I don't know.
sure.
Like I feel like I feel like I never end up playing him, and I'm always like pissed when he scores. But
He's never someone this entire year. I can't remember a time where I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't have Parayko. Maybe Matt says a couple times when Petrangelo's out. But like I can't remember a night where I've been like, man, I can't believe I didn't play Parayko. So where there has been a couple nights like that with Petrangelo and some of these top D-men. So that's why I've been trying to pay up, going more in the testosterone model as of late.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. We don't have anything crazy going on right now. Hopefully some new content to the site. Maybe early next week. I know the guys behind the scene guys a lot smarter than me are working on some new tools for you guys that you can hopefully use for the end of the season. We will have, for premium members, we will have what we're calling office hours. So if you read up on the NHL content schedule, you're just basically getting extra access in Slack, scheduled times to access me and Nolan and ask us questions about whatever. You can do 2v2s or 1v1s if you want about your lineups, but it's more for like general strategy questions like, does your approach change on short slates? How do you deal with 11 plus game slates? Stuff like that, or like fantasy cruncher questions. And we'll do that after the show. It'll be me on Thursday and for the first couple times, and then we'll work Nolan in as well. So we'll see how that goes if you are a premium subscriber. Maybe you'll be in chat anyways, but be sure if you got any questions to drop them in the Slack at, what is it going to be, 5 Eastern tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. So for NHL, it'll be a smaller crew. If you want to gain access to premium, promo code Hit the Ice gets you 50% off the first month. So feel free to try us out. There's also promo codes on all of the other free content that we have out there. Nolan's article is no longer free. So sorry if you are banking on the line changes article, but just more reason to join premium with us, right, Nolan? Because Slack 100%. Is the best.
It is.
Can the Sharks get paid tonight? I mean, I'm a fish, so hopefully the fish get paid tonight, Raj. But I guess we shall see. So any last words, Nolan?
No, my predictions have been so bad lately that I'm out.
All right. I'm sure you'll be tuned in.
Don't listen to me.
I'm sure you'll be tuned into your Canucks tonight. So hopefully they can maybe limit the damage a little bit. What's that?
I'm hitting the slopes. I'm going skiing.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to be watching?
No, right, so I will not. I don't watch the Canucks anymore.
That's probably good if you're a fan of them.
It's like watching a baby seal being slowly clubbed to death 82 nights a week for 5 years. It's enough.
Well, there you have it. Rousing endorsement from the Canucks game tonight. Should be a fun little slate here. Multiple late swap opportunities. Catch us in Slack if you got any questions. And we'll be back tomorrow for the big slate. Good luck, guys.